Hi everybody, welcome to the Mr. and Mrs. Social Studies channel. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Jake, and you are watching one of the many videos in our Back to School series. In today's video, we are discussing how to make sure that you make the most of your time in the classroom before the school year in regards to classroom setup. Especially as a first-year teacher, you're going to realize very quickly, while it varies from district to district, you're probably not going to have a whole lot of time to get yourself set up. And at least from personal experience, you really want to avoid leaving anything for the orientation days for your district, or if I guess you're really unlucky if you don't even get those and you start right on a first day of school. So these steps, these materials in my, I call it a toolbox, but really it's a shower caddy. These materials in here are very helpful for making the most of your limited time once you're able to get inside your classroom and have a few hours to get things set up to make the most of what you've got there. So the very first thing that I would recommend doing, you might be kind of looking through here and wondering, man, this is a weird range of non-classroom related materials, but trust me, there's a reason why all this stuff is in here. It's going to save you time. So the first thing that I did whenever I went into my classroom, well, I didn't do this at first, and then I learned from experience, obviously. Sounds crazy, but the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get a handheld vac or some kind of vacuum material. Here's the truth, guys. Your room is going to be largely uninhabited for the at least 2+ months of the summer between the conclusion of the previous school year, by the time that you're allowed to get in there. And after the awesome custodial staff is able to go through your room and wax the floors and do just general cleaning stuff, well, dust is going to accumulate, cobwebs are going to accumulate. If you're really unlucky like I was, some bug carcasses are going to accumulate. I'm not trying to be gross, I'm just telling you what to expect. But you're going to want to go in there and you're probably not going to want to have to scoop up the stuff with your bare hands. So bring a vacuum so you can take care of all of that. Put it out of sight, out of mind. You're also going to want to have, and this goes beyond just initial setup, but a spray, probably something more heavy duty than this. This is just a prop here of water and vinegar, and a towel, or maybe even multiple towels, so that way you can spray down surfaces. So your desk, any countertops, filing cabinet, large table, really anywhere that you are going to be using, not only in your classroom setup process, but also the year. You can wait on the student desks, they're not important right now. But any surfaces that you're going to be using as maybe stations to kind of set up different phases of your classroom, it's just as nice to be working in a clean space because you don't know what's happened there before that you got there. All right, so after you take care of all of the cleaning setup and you look cool doing it, the next thing that you're going to do, what I want to show you next. All right, you're going to want to have a measuring tape dispenser. And you're also, if you don't have one of those, no, I can't find it in here. Here it is. You're going to want to have a ruler if you don't have one of these. That says I love orchestra is preferred. Obviously, just kidding. Well, the reason that you're going to want to have this is that too many times the mistake that I made year after year, even though I should have known better, even when I was in the same classroom, is not really knowing my classroom dimensions. And why this is important, especially if this is your first time in a room, is that this is going to determine really everything as far as the type of classroom environment, the classroom seating arrangement, which I'll talk more about in a different video, different styles of classroom arrangements that you can do. But know your spacing. So figure out like the length of your room, the width of your room, just to have a general idea of the space that you're working with. The other approach that you could always do, if you've got like a tile floor, you can also like just count up like the number of squares that you have, and like when you're eventually ready to set up your desks, you can use so many squares to separate each of your desks. This is also helpful too for like your walls. If you're like me and you're very specific about like the spacing between your posters, if you're not, obviously more power to you, you're gonna save a little bit of time. But you also can use the ruler to help you out. Measuring tape or the ruler to help you out with that if you're trying to be exact, if you've got a certain amount of space that you're working with, maybe a certain type of poster, whether it's quotes that you're doing, or like certain content related posters, just stuff to consider to have. Next thing, once you've figured out in general your classroom spacing, my advice would be the first piece of furniture that you're gonna wanna set in a concrete place is gonna be your teacher desk. Now the teacher desk, another tip for my first year people here, more than likely it's probably not gonna be in a place that you want it. And even if you've been in a school for a while, again, the custodial staff, the maintenance crew who's working to get all these rooms cleaned up after a school year, they're not really concerned, understandably, about where they end up putting your stuff back in. They're just trying to move it out of the hallway, get your floors waxed, move it back in, move on to the next place. So you're probably gonna have to move your desk. So I would advise, unless you've got a really strong person who is at your beck and call, you're probably going to need movers, because you really don't want to screw up that floor that they just cleaned up for you over the summer. They're not going to be happy about that, particularly if you're a first year teacher. So these movers, if you've got a hardwood floor, are especially helpful. Put these under each of the legs of your desk. You can push it wherever you want, and then you've got the first step of your classroom all set up and good to go. Oh, and definitely keep these somewhere if you don't need them anywhere else in your life. Keep them in a filing cabinet. Keep them somewhere handy, because you're probably going to need these year after year. And I should also mention, speaking of filing cabinets or other large tables, if you don't have somebody else to help you out moving them and you don't want to break your back in the process, don't move a table by yourself. One of those big ones, I did that once, paid for it. But you're going to want to use these to help you move other large pieces of furniture too. All right, next. Time for classroom poster setup. So there's several different supplies. I'm gonna get all these out that you could use here. Okay, here we go. All right, now Sarah is a big fan of the blue painter's tape, and I'm also with her on that, but I like to have a little more variety in my life with my poster hanging decor. But this is really great primarily for any just basic papers, if you've got just any general papers or the light type of posters that aren't very heavy that you're going to want to put up on your walls. This stuff will work perfectly for that. Also, if you've got anything that you're just hanging up temporarily later on during like the course of the school year, maybe you've got some type of activity, a stations activity, and you've got stuff that you're not keeping up for a long period of time. Obviously, this is wonderful and this is great. As an aside, I also use this later in the year to hide my posters with other pieces of paper if there was information on there for like a test or a quiz or something that I didn't want the students to see at the time. But very handy for multiple purposes, not just when you're getting your classroom ready. As far as stuff that's going to be more so one and done, you might go with either like these are the magic removable mounts classroom tabs, or you've got the command strips that you could be using to hang up posters. This is my personal preference for anything that needed a little bit more in order to keep it on there than the painter's tape was going to be able to handle, while also at the same time, I kind of steered away from like the hot glue guns and some of the other materials there, just because I didn't want to screw up any of my walls or boards or anything else that I was using to hang things up on. So these work, particularly these, I like the poster tabs. They work wonders, they're pretty good. Make sure that you have enough based on the classroom posters that you have. I know that sounds silly, but if you know how many posters you're working with, and then go and purchase the amount of tabs that you need, because like when you're going through, one might be kind of defective, or you might have like accidentally put one on if you're like me and put it on in like the wrong spot on the poster and realized you wanted to change it. Generally, I use like 4 of these for each poster, but I'm sure you can obviously do whatever you want in terms of what works for your materials. Now, another lazy way of hanging things up, I'm always looking for quick fixes here. Magnets are especially helpful too, particularly if you're a social studies person and you've got a ton of different maps that you're trying to hang up. Those generally tend to be a little bit bigger than like the average size quote poster. Just use these and hang them up on if you've got an extra like chalkboard that you're not using. I always use my chalkboards for hanging posters because I don't like chalkboards. This also assumes that you've got multiple boards to work with, but these are also very handy for hanging things up temporarily or permanently as well. Just try not to have students sit by your magnets, because they will pull them off and rearrange them. Sometimes for better and sometimes for worse. Okay, so that's all. Oh, and this, well, more magnetized stuff, hooks. I don't know if you have anything you want to hook up there. Okay, and the final thing, well, second to last thing I should say, Next step in your classroom process, make sure that you've got a stapler and a staple remover. Or you could also have thumbtacks, which I didn't come prepared with. But if you're gonna be in your classroom, I recommend trying to get your bulletin boards taken care of. Now I'm gonna be honest with you, I'll probably have said this in other videos too, but I hate setting up bulletin boards. So I was the guy who literally, if I moved into a classroom, I figured out what I needed to do for that bulletin board when I got set up in there, and then I never touched it for the rest of the years that I was in there. So my advice would be to save yourself time. I know some teachers are really big on like changing their bulletin boards, and I can't speak from experience for elementary school teachers, but I'm sure there's a little more pressure there in terms of the decoration of your classroom. From a middle school perspective, and I imagine a high school perspective too, if you've got them, just keep it something that you can use generically through the entire year. So maybe you put up your school's basic like school rules. I know I did that. Or maybe you put up your specific classroom rules. Maybe you put up your content standards. That was something else I went to as a go-to. Just anything that is going to be useful for you that you're going to want to have up in your class anyway. Pick something that you're not going to want to be switching out. Very, very handy. Saves yourself time. Obviously, a stapler is there to hang that stuff up. Staple remover if you decide that you're not happy with what you did. Again, you can use thumbtacks. Also, true story, I did that for the first couple years just because I didn't have a stapler when I got set up. So come prepared, but that's that particular step. And then finally, make sure you pack a snack because you're gonna get hangry. You will. There's a lot of stuff that you're gonna need to do for the classroom. It's gonna probably take more time than you think. So pack a snack. Obviously choose whatever you want. This is just what I have. And finally, when you're all done and you're all proud of yourself because you finished a hard day's work in your classroom, make sure you fuel up. All right, get your protein powder for your post-workout because you deserve it. So this concludes our video on classroom setup. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel if you want to keep seeing things in our series for getting set up in your classroom. There also is a teacher checklist link that is down below that makes sure that you click on it. It is free and it has this information and all of the information that we're going through in our videos here, so you can play along as you go, whether you're at home or maybe you're in your classroom watching this. I don't know. Say hi to your fellow teachers for me. Maybe don't, because they don't know who I am. Anyway, to watch more videos about setting up your classroom or whatever else it is that we talk about, click right over here. Or maybe you don't like that one and click right over there. And if you don't like either of those, then I'm sorry, but this just wasn't meant to be. Just kidding. Keep watching, I beg you. Bye.